Deceased. There's been a tragedy at my home. He's stiff and he's wounded. He might have had a heart attack.
An unconventional relationship ends in tragedy, leaving behind a broken family and a wife facing serious questions. This is where we break down some of the most compelling and memorable true crime cases. Marriages, at times, have their ups and downs, with conflicts ranging from minor quarrels to major fights, right? From those little tiffs to the serious arguments, that's normal. Yet the relationship you are about to hear in this story is quite different. What started as a unique relationship would ultimately become deadly. At around 9:30 in the morning, on January 12, 2019, 911 dispatchers received a desperate call.
He's deceased. There's been a tragedy at my home. He's stiff and he's wounded. He might have had a heart attack.
That's the voice of 45-year-old Danielle Redlick, who says she discovered her husband, 65-year-old Michael Redlick, dead on the floor of their home. When officers arrived at the scene, they found a disheveled Danielle Redlick outside her home. Police photographs show Redlick with injuries to her wrist and visible blood on her neck and feet. She was taken to a hospital in the Orlando area for treatment. Inside the home, investigators discovered what appeared to be evidence of a violent incident. There were blood-stained towels, multiple footprints throughout the house, and a 5-gallon bucket filled with blood-tinged water. According to police, the scene suggested that someone had attempted to clean up before officers arrived. To understand how it all led to this bloody battle, we need to step back to the unusual beginning of Danielle and Michael's relationship. Mike was in love with this woman, Kathleen, but she was dying of cancer. After Kathleen passed away, Mike was basically providing for 2 of Kathleen's kids, Danielle and her younger brother. Michael Redlick had a prominent job as an executive for various sports teams, so he had enough money to take good care of them. Daniela found him somewhat exciting. Although 20 years older than her, he had more financial resources and could take her out and get the different things she always wanted. Somewhere down the road, they started a relationship. What was he thinking? Weirdly, it's a love story that most people wouldn't approve of, but it became one, a real love story. And that's the biggest mistake Mike made in his life. How did this seemingly love story become a bloodbath? Fast forward 15 years, Michael is dead, and Danielle is taken to the hospital for evaluation. Not long after, police visit her, trying to piece together exactly what happened inside that home. She initially claimed that her husband had a heart attack, and then she changed her story when questioned by a 911 operator. She must have known that there was some suspicion at some point. It seems like a normal question, but she did ask if she was free to leave. Am I under arrest? But there is far more to Michael and Danielle's 17-year relationship. Accusations, allegations, and a history that complicates everything. At first, the relationship seemed stable, but over time, allegations began to surface. Claims of controlling behavior, infidelity, and arguments over dating apps. She told them the fight between her and her husband started over a text from another man the night before the stabbing. Danielle had been exchanging messages on social media. It wasn't always clear whether those conversations were purely social or tied to potential job opportunities. She later suggested she was trying to further her career, though it appeared Michael felt uneasy and somewhat jealous about her interactions with other men. That's where things began to go somewhat awry in the marriage. She told them her husband stabbed himself that night. During the funeral, Danielle gives the eulogy, describing Michael as her best friend and praising all he did for her and the children. To many in the room, her words don't match the accusations at all, and as she speaks, a quiet question seems to ripple through the congregation. Why isn't she behind bars? In January 2019, Danielle Redlick, 45, was questioned following a 911 call reporting her stepfather turned husband, Michael Redlick, dead inside their Winter Park home. After dispatchers' differing accounts of what happened, she tells investigators at the hospital that Michael was aggressive and intimidating. Danielle had previously filed a police report accusing Michael of domestic abuse. That history later became central to her claim that she feared for her life and believed Michael was becoming aggressive again. She provides few answers to all the questions asked, and days later the police return to the Redlick home. This time, they come back with a warrant. While investigators collect DNA samples, Danielle seems shocked to learn what investigators are beginning to think. What Danielle didn't realize was that others had noticed problems between her and Michael long before that day, issues that would later prove critical to understanding the complexity of the case. When investigators interview the Redlick's neighbors, they learn even they begin to question Danielle's claim that Michael stabbed himself. The story doesn't add up. Investigators start considering whether Danielle was actually the aggressor and begin building a case, starting with something they noticed from the very beginning. Michael had suffered a single stab wound to the shoulder. Although the scene initially appeared bloody, detectives noticed the strong smell of disinfectant and bleach when they entered the home. There were signs of attempted cleanup, and the condition of the wounds suggested it had occurred hours before the 911 call was placed. Now let's return to the 911 call Danielle made after the stabbing. There's one key detail that immediately caught investigators' attention. Danielle's initial claim was that Michael had taken his own life. Investigators then focused on a simple but critical question. If that were true, why wasn't 911 called immediately? Why would you tamper with evidence? About a week after the stabbing, Danielle is arrested for violating her probation. With her back in custody, investigators press her further about Michael's death. They remind her that she has the right to an attorney, but also offer her the chance to tell her side of the story. Danielle declines to answer their questions. And with her refusing to talk, it's the evidence that starts talking. Detectives focus on an 11-hour window during which Danielle claims she was hiding in the bathroom, fearing for her life. Investigators allege that during that time, the scene was cleaned, and that Danielle was active online, including visiting dating websites. To prosecutors, those actions stood out as deeply troubling and memorable, details they believed would resonate with a jury. At the same time, experts caution that behavior after a traumatic event can vary wildly, making it difficult to define what is truly normal in such circumstances. About a month after Michael Redlick's death, Danielle is formally arrested and charged with murder and tampering with evidence. Prosecutors charge her with second-degree murder, a charge that does not require premeditation. Instead, it alleges a killing carried out with a depraved mind, without a specific plan formed in advance. While Danielle is held in jail, she does something that raises even more questions for investigators. She obviously thought she could convince the jury that she believed she was in fear for her life. She could use Michael's past against him. Danielle was also charged with tampering with evidence. When a death occurs, police are required to conduct an investigation, and it's a crime to interfere with that process by altering or contaminating a crime scene. In June of 2022, prosecutors brought Danielle Redlick's second-degree murder and evidence tampering case before a jury in the death of her stepfather-turned-husband, Michael Redlick. Investigators allege Danielle stabbed him following years of arguments and alleged abuse during their marriage. Until the trial, much about what happened inside their suburban home remained unclear until new details finally emerged in court. In a pivotal moment at trial, Danielle Redlick takes the stand to tell the jury her version of events. Danielle's account never fully made sense. She initially suggested Michael suffered a heart attack or stabbed himself, only later claiming she acted in self-defense, shifting explanations that raised serious questions. Prosecutors also pointed to evidence of deep problems in the marriage. One email, sent months before the stabbing, from Danielle to Michael, stood out as particularly chilling. Danielle proved to be a strong witness for the defense, advocating for herself on the stand. Still, prosecutors argued that key questions remained. Prosecutors argued that the 11-hour delay before calling 911 undermined Danielle's claim that she feared for her safety. They pointed out that during that time, Michael was unresponsive and Danielle was active online. behavior they said was inconsistent with someone trying to get help. Juries are more sophisticated than they're often given credit for. In that sense, Danielle may have helped her case by taking the stand, allowing herself to explain her actions and describe what she said was a tumultuous relationship. Once the case went to the jury, it took just 4 hours of deliberation for them to return with a decisive verdict. The jury does not convict Danielle Redlick of second-degree murder. However, she is found guilty of tampering with evidence and sentenced to almost a year in jail, with time served credited. The jury's decision didn't declare Danielle innocent. Instead, they concluded the prosecution hadn't met the burden of proving murder beyond a reasonable doubt. In the end, Danielle took the stand, told her story, and the jury was not convinced to convict her of murder. After completing her jail sentence, Danielle Redlick was released from custody and placed on 12 months of probation.